Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Achieve with Dr. C relaunch. I am so grateful you're here. I'm so grateful for this new year, everything that the new year brings. It's day one of 365. So that's a great thing. I want to start off this purpose, discover your purpose, or why you should discover your purpose broadcast with a few housekeeping, and then we'll get right to talking to Dr. Leigh. And first thing, this is not medical advice. This is not even therapy. All I am doing is information sharing to help you self-coach or make decisions about your own mental, physical, and emotional health. So nothing we're sharing with you today is meant to be taken as therapy or medical advice. This is our personal opinion, educated personal opinions. Okay? That makes my attorneys happy. So now that we've got that out of the way, I want to tell you why I opened my relaunch with Discover Your Purpose. Little personal background. I've been a proponent of a purpose-driven life for about 20 years now. There was once a book very popular that was living a purpose-driven life. So I delved into that and discovered my own purpose. And I believe my life trajectory just shot off from there. And what I discovered about purpose, my own personal experience, was it gave me direction. It gave me the ability to achieve, which I'm all about achieving. The other thing it gave me was I felt healthier mentally and physically. Having a reason to live life every day just changed me completely. So I believe knowing your purpose, and then the other part to purpose that I discovered is it's seasonal. That's just my own personal. Dr. Leigh may have a whole different opinion, but I believe it's role based and it's seasonal for where you are in life. I don't believe you discover purpose and then it's one and done. I believe you rediscover your purpose all through the seasons and roles of your life. With that said, that is my definition of purpose. And I want to recognize and welcome my guest today, Dr. Leigh. And the reason why I just absolutely adore what she does for a living, I'll let her tell you about that. But I also love the way she explains things, the way she talks to you. It's, she's here with all this knowledge, but she is so relatable. And I just love it. So, Dr. Leigh, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
And yes. So we're going to start this discussion, first of all, being very informal. The people that listen to my rebroadcast, the people on live, they really come for a conversation and to gather information, both to educate, retrain, and redirect their lives. So let's start off. Tell us about yourself and tell us what you do.
I own the business. I own the Brain Performance Center and the Brain Performance Institute. And the Brain Performance Center is where we work with people on an individual basis. And the Brain Performance Institute is where we work more on an organizational level. Everything you do, you don't do, how well you do it, it's all about what's going on in the brain. And my goal has been to help people understand that the brain is an organ, just like the heart. There's so much negative stigma associated with mental health. So let's look at it as brain health. And let's put it on an equal par with your physical health. I got into this business a long time ago. I had twin boys. I'm not going to say how old they are now, but when they were in second grade, one of them got hit by a car, and we went to the emergency room and we got through it until fifth grade. And in fifth grade, he came to me and he said, "My brain is broke." And my response was, "Oh, honey, fifth grade's a hard year." And his response was, "You're not listening to me, Mom." And I wasn't. So I decided I should listen. And he had done his research. He had gotten on the internet, which of course, as a mom, that's a nightmare. But he had gotten on the internet and he was convinced that he had ADHD. And at that point in time, I didn't know what ADHD was, but I could tell it resonated with him. I said, "I got this. I have got this. I'm going to the school. I'm going to talk to your counselor. We're going to figure this out." I go to the school. The counselor says, "Your son does not have ADHD. He's never failed anything. He's never been a behavior problem. Your son's lazy." And I said, "Well, my son has asked me for help. What can I do?" And I was told, "Give him Ritalin." So there's nothing wrong with my son, but I should give my son speed. That I said, "Why would I do that?" And the response was, "That's the only thing you could do." So, needless to say, I did not go that route, and I went the brain health route. Ended up found a neurologist that did neurofeedback. And while I was there twice a week with my son, I decided, maybe I should try this. At that point in time, I had been in ICU once and I had lost my sense of smell. And when I lost it, I thought that's no big deal. I have to be able to see, I have to hear. Those boys were 2 years old. And then I thought, I wonder what it would be like to get it back. And now we know so much about the sense of smell, more emotional memories tied to that. And when I got my sense of smell back, I said, "This is the coolest thing in the world." And I did a career change. I owned a human resource consulting business at that point in time, and I decided I was going to get into the brain business. I got board certified in 2005, worked for that neurologist for 4 years until 2009, and started the Brain Performance Center. And it's my goal is to educate and create awareness. It is okay to not be okay. We're all going to be there at some point in time, but it's not okay if you don't do something about it.
Yes, yes. Oh my goodness, love that. And what a impetus to starting your business, your own children, and the experience they had dealing with very formal systems that really don't deal with brain health. They want to medicate, and that's the norm. So tell us what the Brain Performance Institute does. That's a
So the
little.
Brain Performance Institute really takes it to a more collective level and works with management and organizations to train. My goal is to create psychological safety in the workplace and create an understanding of neurodiversity. There's a lot of people out there that have a neurodivergent brain,
Mhm.
and it's just a brain that processes information different. It doesn't mean it's right, doesn't mean it's wrong. But if you have ADHD, you have a neurodivergent brain. If you have dyslexia, if you're on the autistic spectrum, you have a neurodivergent brain. That's the way neurodivergent is formally defined. Personally, I think if you have anxiety, if you have depression, you have a neurodivergent brain. I don't think there's very many of those neurotypicals out there.
No. And I think anytime you start going typical or normal, you've already lost me, because who defines what's typical? Who defines what's normal? Now we have societal norms, but how I think it's wrapped up in so much.
Well, it
And
is.
yeah, yeah, it is. So, with that said, let's drop about why we're talking about purpose. Let's talk about what I said about purpose being seasonal, purpose giving you direction, let's talk about reasons why you should discover your purpose in life and how you do that. Can you tell us
I
a little
can't
bit?
tell you, I can't tell you how many people come in and they're not really depressed. They're not really, they don't have a real problem, except they don't know why they get up every morning.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have a purpose. And I think purpose evolves. Back in 2005, when I got board certified, my purpose was to learn as much as I could so that I could start a business. In 2009, when I did that, my purpose evolved and it changed. And it's evolved in the last 3 years. So as we continue to learn more about ourselves and more about what's out there in the world, oh my gosh, back in 2005, when I wanted to have brain talks with people, that just wasn't happening. I mean, they're like, we don't talk that voodoo stuff. And I'm like, me either, you know? But now people are ready. And as people have become more ready, that has encouraged and inspired me to learn new techniques, to learn new modalities, and to really stop and think about what is my purpose. And I would really be willing to bet 5 years from now, that purpose will have evolved and moved on.
Yes, yes. And there is, you said something I think is super important about purpose is that people come in and they think something's wrong with them because they don't have a reason to get out of bed. They don't know why they're here. They don't know what they're supposed to be doing or how they're supposed to be being, I guess, for lack of a better description. Tell us how we can focus on finding our purpose. Let's talk first, this and then behavior.
Well, I think COVID, a lot of us lost our purpose during the COVID. And a
Yes.
lot of people just because our life changed. What used to be normal, that's gone. What I used to love to do, that's gone. So, well, what do I do? And how do I do it? And why do I do it? And all those are questions that we'll answer with some coaching or some counseling. But it starts with, what are your goals? You've
Mhm.
got, and I say this to everybody, you always find what you're looking for. So why don't you go looking for the good stuff?
Yeah.
And you've got to have that purpose. You've got to have that definition. When people will come out and say, well, I just have brain fog. I'm just, my brain, I feel like I'm in a tunnel. I can't get to the end of it. And then we'll talk about neuroplasticity, because neuroplasticity is the brain's ability to change. And there are ways that we create neuroplasticity at the Brain Performance Center, but there are ways that you can do it too. Anytime you learn something new, you're changing the way that brain is wiring and firing, and you're making yourself to operate in a little bit different manner. I mean, I last month I decided that I'm right-handed, but I would use my left hand for my mouse. That's a lot harder than you think. It really is. But that sensory motor strip, that part of your brain where every part of your body connects to your brain along that strip, was like, what? What? Where's my friend? Where's that right hand? So, and if you love to cook some kind of food that you've never cooked before. I mean, I love Thai food. I've never cooked it. I don't know if I'm that brave. I think I'll stick to the left right hand thing.
Yes. And do you know, I regularly tell people at work, switch your mouse to the other side of your desk and use your opposite hand. And that's why I keep a mouth like this that doesn't have a side to it. So I'm not tied to it. And then just brushing your teeth with your different hand. There are so many little things you can do to stimulate. One, automated behaviors, which I taught, I think it was 2 years ago. I did a challenge to help people overcome habitual things or how to change your habits. because we live our lives based on our habitual things that we do, how we do it. It really determines purpose and reason why you can't feel like getting out of bed every day is what you're habitually listening to, eating, drinking, smoking, all the things we do to self medicate and to divert attention away from what am I doing in my life that makes me happy and gives me purpose. So, love what you're talking about. Tell us some more tips to help with neuroplasticity, we call it, or just helping the brain to um, function different.
Well, I always tell people maybe it's time you sat down and you had a hard conversation with yourself. And I'm always more than happy to help you do that because it is hard and you've got to challenge yourself and you've got to say, a lot of times I'll say, well, what are your goals?
Mhm.
Well, I'll think about that in the beginning of 2024. Okay.
Mhm.
But if you don't, and it's not that they don't want goals. Of course they want goals. Of
Mhm.
course they want direction. But it's a hard conversation because you got to say, well, what's working for you and what's not working for you?
Right.
And what are you willing to try and fix? Because so many times it's our lifestyle choices
Mhm.
that get in the way. And you mentioned self medicate. And I don't believe there's anybody out there that chooses to get addicted to a behavior or a substance.
Right.
It's it's addiction is a brain disease, and it's how that once you start doing something and you like it, the brain starts kicking out that dopamine, and dopamine's a really feel good neurotransmitter. So then it goes from, well, I like that to
Mhm.
I want that. And then it gets to the point, well, I need to do that. That is what I need to be doing. And those little neurons and dendrites, they get all confused because of all the dopamine. So focus on truly what you need to do. There's a difference between need and
Mhm.
want isn't always as beneficial as need.
Right. Now, that's a that's a behavioral thing to teach people delayed gratification. And I've also started in my coaching. Um, I have found people automate listening. They turn their brains off of acquiring new information, like what we're talking about now. If it's not immediately gratifying or simple or they understand it, people will tune right out. And we do that a lot in life because we're hardwired for what's comfortable. The brain likes challenge, right? And the brain likes it when you get it something new, but then it automatically tries to make it automated so that it can focus its energy on new stuff that requires more of you. That's why we tell you change the way you brush your teeth, change the direction you drive to work, change how you use your mouse. All of those things are great. Um, I don't know what you call them that isn't tech tech blah blah, but it's a great way to stimulate the brain being challenged.
They
What?
are, but where it all starts from is the thoughts that you're having in your brain.
Ooh,
And
let's
so many times it's those negative thoughts, and
mm-hmm,
we all have them. I used to have the worst case of the shoulds when I started my practice in 2009 after the financial situation in 2008.
mm-hmm,
Lee, you should do this, you should do this. Then I never did it. Then I'd have this horrible conversation. Well, shame on you. It's all your fault. You didn't do what you know you needed to do. And I
mm-hmm.
decided, man, those shoulds got to go. They're
Yes.
dragging me down. And we've all got those negative thoughts. Maybe you don't have the shoulds. I don't wish the shoulds on anybody. But maybe you're looking for perfection. And if you find it, God bless you. Because personally, I don't think it's out there. And I
Right.
think, that all or nothing thinking, that
Mhm.
black or white thinking,
Mhm.
that um, that fairy tale land that we can try to live in sometimes. That's all the
Mhm.
way that you're thinking. And if
Yeah.
you can catch those, I call them ants, automatic negative thoughts. They go through your head so fast and furious, you don't even know they were there. But all of a sudden you're mad, or you're frustrated, or you're sad. And you're saying, hey, this is the way I feel. Catch those ants. And once you start catching them, then you can get rid of them.
That's automatic negative thinking goes back to a loop or the way you train yourself to think by what you constantly focus on. And when we talk about focusing on goals and purpose, that's where I believe a lot of people follow through with thinking, but I procrastinate. You know, that I get that a lot from people. They procrastinate a lot. And I don't ever tell someone procrastination is a problem unless you're not achieving anything in your life. If you're not achieving your goals, then procrastination is a problem because, and we can talk about that, procrastinating on discovering your purpose. Because we start out the new year, oh, I'm a gonna, or shoulda, or I'm gonna should all over myself. Or we will set these goals that are impossible to reach. Like you can't start with being a CEO and starting your own company without all the steps in between, right? We
Right.
know that. So, what are some ways with figuring out your purpose? What are some things you need to do um, to help with how you're thinking? Like if you're depressed and you're thinking, I don't know why I'm here. I don't know what life has no meaning. Or I do the same things every day. Or I avoid doing things I need to do things I want to do. Can you tell us some ideas and things we can do to stop
You
that?
know, there's different ways that you can approach that. A lot of people need motivation. They need someone to coach them and hold them accountable, but not everybody, you know. And a lot of people, I think tapping into your gratitude can be one of the most useful activities that you can do. At the end of the day, stop and say, what are the three things that I'm grateful for? Now, here's the kicker, they're never really big things, they're always little things. But it's the little things in life that make our day go so much better, that puts a smile on our face. So, what are you grateful for? And I also think that I'll challenge somebody, you're seeing that cloud in the sky. Did you know that all clouds have a silver lining?
Hmm.
Because they do. But finding that silver lining can oftentimes be hard. And I'm a big believer in visualization. And I'll say, well, close your eyes. And what do you see? What's the best Leigh that you can see?
Hmm.
And at first, we kind of stumble and we go, I'll get a haircut, or it doesn't have anything to do with the best Leigh that you can be. But
Hmm.
maybe I'll put more energy into being connected
Hmm.
socially with friends. We all need connection. We all need to have those relationships in our life. We don't need 20. We just need two or three that we feel allow us to be who we want to be and allow us an opportunity to talk about things. And to our listeners out there, if you've got somebody in your life that can hold you accountable, but at the same time, stay in their lane. If it's your partner, above all, that's your partner, and respect that. But I think that we all have people that if we identify and that we can give back to too. Hey, Dr. Cheryl, I need some help with this.
Mhm.
And I'd be happy to help you with anything that I
Yeah,
can.
and you have. We have a very reciprocal relationship, and that's professional, but also we learn from each other, and we all need that in our lives. Now, I want to define purpose again because we've had some new listeners join on some of the other platforms. I want to define purpose can be defined two ways according to psychologists or psychology. It can be content of character or your goals for life. That's a very simple definition. And your content of character is everything you just finished speaking of. Are you going to be a better friend, a better wife, a better mom, a better uh, employee, or a better leader? Which we both help corporations and individuals to better themselves. I also help people when it comes to discovering your purpose, like what do you want your character to be like? How do you want to show up in the world? But also, what are your goals? So, what do you want to achieve in life? I try to get people to squash that down and be very granular. Don't stay up here with the high, lofty, perfectionist driven ideas, but what are your right where you are? If it's to get up earlier every day, which I advocate for, because my brain personally works better. My circadian clock is set to early morning. Don't mess with me with anything complicated in the evening. Because you're just not going to get the best sure.
And I think that's great advice. Play to your strengths, not
Mhm,
your weaknesses, and recognize your strengths.
mhm,
And what I have found when I work with people, it all starts, I used to call it self-care. But when self-care first came out, we thought, oh, self-care, bottle of wine, Netflix. That's not self-care.
right.
That's self-indulgence. And then self-care went kind of within my head, grew to self-love because it's all
Mm,
about taking care of ourselves. And what do you need? And sometimes, I need to go to the gym. I haven't moved. I sat on a plane yesterday for 3 hours. I need to go to the gym. I need to move. And sometimes it's I need some quiet time. I
mm,
just I just need some time with me just to kind of process and think about. So I encourage everybody to, and this one of the best things I ever got was from my mom. And I had just had twins and she was there visiting. They were like 3 days old. And I came down and she had one under each arm. And she said, "You going to the gym?" I said, "Oh no, Mom, no." And she said, "Why not?" And I said, "Well, you're here and I want to be with you." She said, "If you don't take care of yourself, how do you think you're going to take care of these two?"
oh,
I went to
see,
the gym.
good mom. Well,
Yeah.
that's a good mom. And these are really important and easily implemented things we're telling you guys. So I hope everybody is listening. We do have a question from Carrie Ann. She asks, how does one know their brain type so they can know why they do what they do?
Well, so when you say brain type, to me, that means, do you have a neurodivergent brain? Do you have ADHD? Are you on the autistic spectrum? Because those brains process information differently, just like someone with dyslexia does. Someone that has and now I'm going to go maybe too technical, but when you say brain type, I think, oh, frontal lobes, parietal lobes where you process information,
Mm,
occipital where you do visual. So stop and
mm,
think about, what do I do well? You know, do I if do I learn better if I listen to an audio book? Okay, well that tells me then that your temporal lobes, your auditory processing skills are good. Or no, 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 don't tell me what you need from me. Send me an email. Send me an email. That tells me that you visually process information better. So pay attention to how your brain's operating and what it tends to do best. I am a big believer in play into your strengths anytime you can, but recognize those weaknesses and address them because we all have things that we can get better at. And
Yeah.
sometimes just a little bit of resilience, just saying, I am
Yeah.
gonna I am going to figure out how to hang in there with this.
Yes.
Sometimes resilience can make all the difference in the way our brain's working.
Yes. Grit is so important. And um, it's okay to put your own air mask on first. I teach that a lot. I also love for people to understand we all struggle. And there's no reason, like you said at the very top when we first started talking, it's okay to not be okay. What's not okay is to just stay there. Every day you have an opportunity to move a little bit forward. And incremental is better than nothing. Any is plenty. I love what you
Absolutely.
said. Yeah.
And
Any is
I have to say this because I say this all the time. Get your crap together. And that crap is
Mhm.
clarity, relevance, accuracy, and precision. You get your crap together and your brain will work a whole lot better.
Say that again one more time.
So that's clarity, relevance, accuracy, and precision.
Clarity, relevance, accuracy, and precision.
But who's going to listen to that? Now, if you tell them to get their crap together,
Now that'll tingle somebody's interest
oh, yeah.
immediately because it's easy to, especially during the pandemic, and especially for those of us COVID recoverers. I don't even call myself a survivor anymore. I don't like victim based language because it affects my resilience. I'm a person that has to have positive influence, positive information, thinking about what I do want, not what I don't want, what I need to stop just as much as what I start works for my brain. That's just how my brain works. Now, everybody's not that way. I like big picture thinking. So when I get my crap together, clarity is critical for me. I love to teach about the criticality of clarity. Can you tell us some definitions about clarity so people understand what that means for them? Or they can study it more, how to get your crap together.
Well, for me, clarity means I know exactly what I'm focusing on, and I know exactly what my goals are. Because so many times when people don't have clarity, they focus on the wrong problem. And
Mhm,
man, they'll come up with some great solutions,
mhm,
but it's the wrong problem. So be clear on what the issues are that you're facing. Be clear on what's important and be clear on what your position is. Because sometimes we'll see a problem and we'll go, well, you know, that's bad. That's bad. But I don't know what to do about it. Do some
mhm,
research. Get get some information, read, talk to some colleagues. There's
mhm,
always that networking, and that's one of the things that in COVID, I think we all kind of lost the amount of networking that we've done. I used to be a
mhm,
great networker, and I'd like to think I still am, but it's just now that things are coming back into play. And so, however, some people don't want to network, but some people love to research. You're a great researcher.
yes.
You'll dig into that research, and I'm the other way. I will talk to somebody.
See, I love to read, and because I'm self motivated and I am very much data and research driven, I love opinions because that helps you think differently. But in the end, I make my own decisions and then manage those decisions. That's how I get clear. It's I decide. And being biblically based, I live by biblical principles. I know if you're double minded, you're unstable in all your ways. And being double minded is just not being clear. Like you
That's all it
said,
is.
yeah, not being clear about what you want, what you don't want, who you want to be, how you want to show up in the world, and what's the content of your character. I mean, I think it's hard living. I mean, life is hard, but you get to choose your hard.
Yes,
And
you
if
do.
you're a person without character, like you just want to be a scammer, I think that's a hard way to live. I think people without integrity, that's a hard way to live. That's hard character to have because you have to remember so much like what life you told you. I'm simple. I don't want my brain over there trying to figure all that out. So I just stay with integrity. I tried to tell the truth the first time. I
You
tried
know,
to apologize the first time. I try to give apologies that are sincere and also allow the other person to forgive me. And a lot of times we apologize out of the content of our character. We just want them to not be mad at us. That's not the same as apologizing. That's
no.
not the same. So that was a lot, but centered around being clear. Now let's talk about the R.
So, and what's relevant? Because, and this is where we get confused. There's a big difference between facts and truth.
Woo, alternative facts.
Because a fact is something that we have read, it's out of your research. A
Mhm.
truth is the way that we perceive that fact, and we'll put our spin on it. And that's when that's when that line of what's relevant gets a little fuzzy, because
Mhm.
are we comparing it to the fact, or are we comparing it to our perception of the fact? And we all have bias. I'm almost convinced that by the time you're grown, whether it's cultural bias, whether it's personal bias, whether it's learned bias, it comes from the knowledge base. We all have bias, and that influences our thinking. And it influences when you talk about decision making, that bias can really come into play because you end up wanting to make the best decision for guess who?
Mm.
Not
Mm.
the best decision for the greater good.
Mm.
So, and it's when we stop and we ask ourselves, okay, well, why do you think that's the right answer?
Mhm.
Well, I think that's the right answer because, I saw a situation like this, and when we didn't do that, this happened. Is
Mhm.
this the same situation? No. Is
Mhm.
it identical to the other situation?
Mhm.
No. So keep your head, keep your heart and your head open to receive. Those that
Mhm.
are open to receive will.
Yeah, every time. Now, A.
Accuracy. And that,
Mhm.
that ties into to relevance, but a lot of times we will, oh, that's good enough. That's good enough. And
Mhm.
that's good enough is getting in the way of accuracy. So,
Mhm.
don't let that's good enough answer the question. Is that is that the right thing? And I know that I say it all the time, do the right thing. Just
Mhm.
do the right thing. And it's so interesting. I heard my son say it to my little granddaughter this past week. I was visiting. He's like, well, do the right thing. I was like, oh my gosh. But then I know where you got that. Mom, I don't think you invented that. But doing the right thing is, if you want accuracy, you've got to think beyond that's good enough.
I love that because you and I both know we went through a time period of alternative facts. Um, and also because of the invent of social media, everybody has an opinion, and they believe
Mhm.
everybody's opinion needs to be heard, validated, and repeated. Um, Everybody's a social broadcaster. One of the reasons why I stopped this broadcast and relaunching it was the pressure I was getting. Number one, men, just the way they would respond to my broadcast was, it was slimy for me. The other thing was just uh, the way people took information. It wasn't done from a place of wanting accuracy. They weren't fact checking me, they were trying to correct me. And it just got overwhelming. And then I had big name brands wanting me to be a part of their network and had all these requirements to be popular and paid. And I just wasn't willing to sacrifice who I believe I am to squelch my voice, my unique voice, just to get money or to be popular. So, accurate information for me is super important, and validating what I heard versus what I perceived versus what is true. Because so many times, don't you think we want to be right as opposed to accuracy, what's true, and what's the best for all?
Absolutely, we're humans and we all want to be right. We all want to be the one that has the answer.
Mhm.
And that's okay. But it's also okay to say, you know what, Cheryl, you got a better answer than I do this time.
Yeah, yeah, that's some humility right there. Um, Being able to say, I don't know, is a huge adult issue. And I found that being in corporate America and coaching and leading and helping transformation, to never put the adults in the room in a position where they have to say, I don't know, because they will chew off their own leg with their bare teeth before they will admit they don't know something. It's just not a good feeling. So, but it is the human state. You can't know everything. This is limited real estate up here.
That it is. I mean, that brain weighs 3 pounds and it's 80% water. So you got to think about how much you can store in there. You truly do.
I always say limited real estate, and it gets a little more exclusive and luxury based the older I get.
Absolutely. You know.
So let's talk about the P.
Well, what the P is it really brings the C, the R, and the A together because so many times I've seen people go through this and they'll know exactly what they're looking for.
Mhm.
And they will weed out what's the most relevant. They'll set their goals around that. They'll fact check them. They're accurate, but then they get in a rush, and or
Mhm.
something happens. Life gets in the way of everything, and they'll do the best they can to implement that strategy, but not with precision.
Mhm.
And will they still get good results? Yes, they will. Will they hit their if it's a number game, if you're in sales, will you hit your target? Maybe not. So for me, that precision ties everything together. I mean, you've done all the work, you've done all the hard stuff. Make sure you're very precise with how you execute.
Mhm. Mm. And that's some good decision making right there. I love that. Carrie Ann, she said, you cannot learn unless you're in a state of I don't know. You're right. You
She's
can't be
right.
an evergreen learner. You can't acquire, like, even coming to this broadcast, if you came thinking, oh, I don't want to hear that, or oh, I know that, you're not going to get the juicy reward of new information and what you can do with it to help discover your purpose.
And create a little neuroplasticity at the same time.
And we love neuroplasticity, neurogenesis. You guys, your brain is such a wonderful organ, and it's your central nervous. It controls so much, and how you feed it, take care of it, and use it is determines the quality of your life. So when we're talking about neurogenesis, and I want to give another definition of neurodivergent, um, if you could break that down for people, because I've had a couple of private inboxes going, what does neurodivergent mean?
So basically, what it means is that your brain processes information differently, and differences are not deficits. That's the bottom
Mm,
line. If you have a difference, that's not a deficit.
mm, that's a
And
good.
I think that people need to understand, particularly in organizations, that your culture, because when people, let's say that, you have ADHD, so maybe I don't hang with that real long conversation. I get distracted, I kind of move on. And it's not that I don't care about what's being said, it's just the way my brain works. And when you don't understand that, and then people look at you like, can't you stay with the conversation? And they may even use those words. And you're like, well, how does that make you feel? Makes you feel excluded, makes you feel a little isolated, makes you feel maybe a little discriminated against because you couldn't hang. So understanding a neurodivergent brain, trying to create a neurodiverse environment where everybody feels included is
Mm,
when people will grow personally and when we'll all benefit. We all benefit from each other.
that's so true. We need each other. And I think the isolation and separation and social distancing and all the things that did for us as a society, it caused some gaps. And for those of us that tend to be, um, I love to say I am ambivert. I'm not social. I'm not an introvert. I'm an ambivert. I call it up if I need to, but my preference, and I get my energy from being alone. I need my downtime. I need my quiet. That's my self care. That's my self love. It's not the group thing. I had to learn too to be content preaching to a choir or an audience of one. I don't share the need people sometimes have to have a lot, and any is plenty for me. Access is as good as ownership. These are things I tell my brain because also I'm slower than most, highly intelligent, but I'm not a good rusher. I don't rush to do things. When I do, I'm unhappy and I make a lot of mistakes. And when I discover my purpose, and my purpose, again, it keeps evolving based on my roles in life. I learned it is important for me to go slow. It's just important. If I can't bring a slower pace to an environment that's used to being fast paced, I don't last long.
You did a great job of identifying your brain type and figuring out how to make your brain type work for you.
Mm-hmm,
So that's a great example.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Now, how can we relate this to, let's say someone's listening to our conversation? We've been talking quite a while here. And what if they heard what we said and they still don't know how to start to discover their own purpose? Like, what are my roles? What is my brain type? Am I neurodivergent? Am I, all these things we've been teaching. Give us some next first steps. Which I
I think
love.
I think some great first steps are okay. I'm going to go back to my craft here. Clarify. Clarify what you do know and what you don't know. And then okay, I really don't understand, what that means. I don't understand how that works. Do a little research
Mm-hmm.
and make sure. And when I say research, get accurate information. I have
Mm.
clients that come in, oh, I was on the internet. We're so you
We
were
will
at
not
the Mayo Clinic or the Cleveland Clinic, right? Because I have places. Oh no, no, no! I was on
understand.
a Facebook group. That's not that's not accurate information. So
Google Scholar.
yes,
Look at
yes,
some scientific research.
or
Just back up what you think.
or at least go beyond the first page.
Yeah,
Sometimes I think you got to get to like the fifth or the sixth page of a Google search before you
go
get
in.
to real stuff.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that recognize, what do you understand and what you don't understand, and then get more in touch with how you feel about it. If you
Mhm,
like to write, journal about it. Some people really get a lot out of journaling,
mhm,
and if you're not a journaler, well then get in a group conversation about it.
mhm,
Say, hey, this is where I am. Is
mhm.
anybody close, or does anybody think I'm crazy? And I'm never afraid to answer that question.
Yeah.
And I've gotten the yes plenty of times.
Anything different is crazy to people. And just exposing how you think. And I love what Carrie Ann said. She said we spoke about thought and we tell ourselves a common lie that we're not what we think. And she said she feels the need to change to you're not defined by your thoughts. Because for anything to exist, there has to be a thought. Thoughts define our mood, behavior, and eventually crystallize to our reality. Love that.
And that's very true, but here's the problem with the brain. The way the brain processes information, it
Mhm,
turns it into a story. Now, here's the kicker. It
mhm,
doesn't care if it's using accurate information or not. So, but
mhm,
I got to process what happened. So at the end of the day, you sit back and you think, oh, that's what happened. And you get that, whatever it is you feel, anger, sadness. Well,
mhm,
before you go to those feelings, ask yourself, is that really what happened? Because
mhm.
sometimes when you stop and you ask yourself that question, have that conversation with yourself, is that really what happened? Then you'll realize, no, that's really not what happened.
No, and that's not what they said. I love to teach, like you said, that's not really what happened, but I love to teach people words matter, not just what's said, but what's meant by what's said. And that's where we get lazy and thinking we're right. And we don't want to go beyond, we heard it, but did we hear it or did we listen to it? So when I get information from someone, I want to know what you mean by that. It's annoying to people, but it's coming from a pure place. I really want to understand. When you said that, what did you really mean? Help me understand. And we have to do that with ourselves. You can't assume every thought you think, like you just explained so well, is accurate or
No.
truthful. Definitely not everything you hear. And engaging all your senses in accuracy, I think, is super important.
Those
So,
observation skills, those are the most powerful skills that you have. What do you see? What do you hear? What does it feel like? You
mhm,
know?
mhm,
Um, those observation skills, stop. Do you smell anything?
mhm,
Use every sense that you have and
mhm,
factor that in.
mhm. I do a lot of this when I'm thinking because I actually love to engage my feelings in what I'm thinking because I believe we're so inundated with information
Oh,
that our brains are just like, oh, it's too much. It's too much. And so until we clue into how this is feeling for me, and maybe I need to revisit it later and just stop for now, um, especially in discovering your purpose and to bring us to a conclusion and leave time a little bit of time for people to talk to us if they want to. I believe that the next first step she just gave is crucial for finding your purpose. if you want to know what do I do once I get off the air here and stop listening to these ladies, um, and also if you're listening to the rebroadcast, I want you to have this next first step. And I believe accuracy in how you think about it, and also clarity. What are your roles in life? Are you a mom? Are you a teacher? Are you, what's your profession? And then deciding who you want to be when you show up in the world. Being clear about that. I want to be a person that can be trusted. I want to have integrity. I want to talk to people and treat people with respect. That's just how I love to show up in the world. Pick a few things. Don't try to conquer Rome in a day, but these are easy things you can do to start you down that road to getting your crap together and then discovering your purpose and why it's so important to know that. And Leigh, you wanted to say something to the points I was making.
Well, I think all the points that you're making are right on. And I think that it's just the hard part is just, saying, okay, I want to talk to myself. Today, I'm going to do it. Oh, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. No, do it today. You'll be glad you did.
Yeah, yeah. And these don't have to be time consuming next first steps.
No, they don't.
No, no. All the things that she said, I think you can do easily if you want to. And that's what I want to encourage you as we wrap up today is um, go beyond just thinking about it to actually being about it. And if you want to be better served by finding your purpose, which is how you show up in the world, the content of your character, and then what you do and how you do it for the role and the season of your life right now. We gave you a lot of good information. We helped teach you about neuroplasticity, neurogenesis, neurodivergent brains, which I love that. And I put the explanation in the chat so it can be viewed and people can take their notes. I also put CRAP in there, what each of those acronyms stand for. So I hope you learned something today that you will do the next first steps, and that is your homework. Find something in the information we shared with you today to go about discovering your purpose or reinforcing your purpose. If you already feel like you have a good handle on that, we can still share information. We did share information that will help you grow better, achieve better goals, achieve all your goals for 2024. Now, Leigh, tell us how we can reach you, and please tell us about your book.
So my book is Turn Your Brain On to Get Your Game On. And because that's what I realized when I started this practice was that we do. People will come in for a consultation and I would say, oh, I see. I think I feel some depression. Oh, no, I'm not depressed. Are you anxious? I'm not anxious. And I thought, you know what? It's okay to not be okay. And as long as you get your brain in a regulated state, get a sleep pattern down. Look at what you're eating. Look at your self-love. I mean, do you have a spiritual side? Reach out to that. There's so many things that you can do that will help you. So I can be found on LinkedIn, Leigh Richardson. I've got, of course, the good old-fashioned Brain Performance Center website. And I encourage people, I am happy to talk with anybody. The first step at the Brain Performance Center is a 30-minute consultation. And I am happy because you know what? It's a relationship that I'm trying to build with people. I'm not just, and if somebody if they really want to work with you and help you and they can't give you 20 or 30 minutes of time, because how do I know I can help you unless I know what your problem is? So.
Right. take the time. I also, in the chat, after we're done and we sign off, I will have her contact information and a link to purchase her book. I think it would be a great book to purchase to start the year off. Yes, we're going to put that link in there. It's a great question, Carrie Ann. And thank you, Carrie Ann, for staying with us this whole broadcast. I know people will watch this during the rebroadcast. It always happens. That's another reason why you always see closed captioning, because I know people listen at work or at their desk or in the gym in their headphones, and they need to be able to read information. But I will have links to purchase Dr. Leigh's book, as well as how to go to the Brain Performance Institute if you want testing, if you want to spend the time to find out how your brain works and what you can do to increase your brain health and also improve behaviors. She also does executive coaching. So those of you that listen to the rebroadcast and you own companies, great resource. So
Turn your brain on to get your game on.
that's right. Dr. Leigh, thank you so much for spending time with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Definitely appreciate it. We'll definitely have you on again, if that's okay. I know you've got some exciting stuff in the works that I want to bring you back on, and we can talk to some of my corporate listeners about some of the stuff you're doing in the marketplace. Okay.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. You guys, I want to thank you for spending time with us. Thank you for listening. Hope you learned something. I also want to invite you to my next broadcast, which I used to do these probably every week. I don't have that bandwidth now, but my next broadcast, I will have Brittany Brodus Smith. She is a Christian sexologist, and we will be talking about pleasure and intimacy. Super excited about that. And let me tell you something. It's not sexual, okay? Don't come here thinking you're going to learn all these things about sex. We're going to teach you what pleasure and intimacy really is, especially for those of us who aren't married. So, hope to see you on the next broadcast. I'm Dr. Cheryl Carr. This is your work doctor. This is the Achieve with Dr. C broadcast, not meant to be anything more than personal advice to help you with your self-coaching. We'll see you next time. Bye.